Hi friends, in this video we will talk about the best smartwatches in 2020. I will share with you my hours of research on the best smartwatches in 2020, and this research is based on the price, performance, reliability and quality of the product. If you are interested in buying the product, links are mentioned below the description. Let's start the video. Fifth number in the list is Voytic Watch Pro Best Battery Life. Voytic Watch is a new entrant to the field. To be entirely honest, I hadn't heard of the names TicWatch or Voy until last year. However, even though it's a new brand with new products, it's managed to take hold of its share of the market with a savvy business strategy and sound designs. The Voytic Watch E and S were both impressive, and now we have the Voytic Watch Pro, which also is its most premium product to date. Voy started out making artificial intelligence voice technologies. They then expanded into smart home devices and wearables, focusing on the underserved Chinese market. Their main design philosophy has been to deliver high-end specs on a budget by skimping on external designs, which is a reasonable trade-off. But with the TicWatch Pro, they're offering a high-end design with their usual quality specs, plus some truly innovative features. Like most smartwatches, there are no rotating bezels or crowns. Most of your interaction will come through the display itself, or through the two buttons on the watch's side, the top of which acts as a home button, while the bottom is a programmable shortcut. The first major innovation that Voy has brought to the market is this watch's display. Not because it's a touchscreen, but because it's actually two screens combined in the same watch face. The top screen is a transparent LCD. This is the screen that's used in low power or essential mode. Data such as the time and date, step count, and heart rate can all be displayed on low power screen that's still visible even in direct sunlight. Underneath this LCD display is layered the kind of touchscreen that most smartwatches use. This more power-hungry display is high resolution, at 400 x 400 pixels, and is used for navigating and displaying apps and other key functions of the smartwatch. This clever combination of screens is the reason for the second innovative feature of the TicWatch Pro, a battery life that can be measured in days instead of hours. Putting the watch into essential mode, which it will do itself once the battery gets too low, whenever possible, means the watch uses very little juice. On the wrist, it feels a little thick and weighty, but not uncomfortably so. There are 8 different options for straps, from colored silicone to brown leather. More interestingly, there are also options for straps that combine silicone and leather. The biggest downside to this watch is that it isn't as user-friendly as other watches. For starters, there is no LTE version yet offered. It uses the Wear OS, but also requires that the Voy app be downloaded in order for the watch to work at all. Fourth number in the list is Samsung Galaxy Watch Active 2 Best for Fitness Accountability. Samsung's Galaxy Watch Active 2, released a mere 6 months after the original Galaxy Watch Active, and the two aren't that different. There are minor upgrades to the software and hardware, with proportional improvements in screen sizes, battery life, etc. For me, the biggest difference between the two is that the Active 2 has a virtual version of the Galaxy Watch's rotating bezel, which is a big deal, and I'll talk more about in a few paragraphs. Another difference in the Active 2 is the introduction of the built-in fall detection and ECG, which Samsung promises, but isn't yet available. They first need FDA approval, which they expect to get in the first months of 2020. Features like these, though, really target the watch's audience, people interested in fitness and activity. However, and this may be a real problem for the Active 2, their tracking isn't as accurate as other devices. This is true both for GPS tracking and steps counted. The Active 2 tends to overestimate distances. There are cases where this won't matter. If you're buying the watch to help yourself be more accountable and want to track activity more than train for an event, this watch will work fine. Also, if you're going to use this watch and only this watch to track your progress in training, then it's consistent enough with itself that you can make gains. However, if you use this watch to, for example, train for a half marathon, then you may be surprised when, on the day of the event, you reach mile 11 and realize the event is 2 miles longer than you've been training for, or that your average times are far lower than you'd thought they'd be. That being said, the watch has a lot going for it. Among my favorites, as I mentioned, is navigating apps with a virtual bezel. The Samsung Galaxy Watch has a physical bezel that rotates to allow users to move between apps. The Active 2 also has apps for YouTube, Twitter, Spotify, and more. And while these worked well enough, whether or not watching YouTube videos or reading texts on such a small screen is a plus is up to you. The running coach is also improved and now gives real-time pace metrics and a rundown of what to expect in your workout before you start. Audio cues can be heard either through the watch's own speakers or over Bluetooth headset. For casual fitness buffs or people just getting into fitness, all of this might sound great. And these features make Active 2 a great smartwatch for fitness and can last amateur athletes for years. However, be warned that if you're hoping to reach even high collegiate levels of training, then you will outgrow this watch. The chipset on the Active 2 is the Exynos 9110 dual-core processor, which is the same used on the Galaxy Watch. It's fast enough to feel intuitive, and the 768 MB of RAM is more than enough for switching between apps. If you go for the more expensive LTE model, you get even more RAM, 1.5 GB. The round face of the Galaxy Watch Active 2 gives it a traditional look, and it comes in a variety of colors to match your style. The stainless steel variants are a little more expensive, and the bands are interchangeable. The bottom line on this watch is that, for consumers with an iPhone, this isn't for them hands down. They should go with an Apple Watch. This watch, in contrast, pairs most easily with Samsung phones. Its kit is pretty standard for this generation of watches with heart rate monitoring, GPS tracking, etc. While its name implies it's targeted at active users, it may not be accurate enough for collegiate-level athletes or hardcore trainers who need to track their progress to make gains. However, it's still a Samsung watch, which is a reliable brand. For users who just want to stay fit and want a device that can help keep them accountable, this watch is great. Third number in the list is Fossil Gen 5 smartwatch, best for Android. Fossil has been in the watchmaking business since 1984 and developed a reputation for making great watches in their mid-priced range. In their 35 years, they have branched out into other fashion products such as wallets, fragrances, handbags and purses, as well as higher-end watches in their Fossil Swiss line. However, their brand still seems focused on mid-priced watches. With their Gen 5 smartwatch, Fossil has kept to those roots. As of this writing, the Fossil Gen 5 is priced roughly $100 less than the Apple Watch 5 and $50 less than the Samsung Galaxy. Considering its price, features, and functionality, it lies squarely in the middle of the pack of watches from this reviewer's standpoint. Still, it's a good enough watch that I think it would be the right choice for some consumers, particularly users of Android devices. If you love your Android device and want the most seamless communication between it and your watch, then this is the watch to get. In appearance, you have 7 options of bezel/band, from classic stainless steel to the more athletic look of black silicone. Fossil is, at heart, a fashion company, and so their watches are accordingly stylish. Which you choose depends on your own personal look. The display is an AMOLED screen with a 328 pixel density. It's pretty sharp to look at, but in bright sunlight becomes unreadable. You have to adjust the settings, which can be tricky when it's hard to see the screen well enough to interact with it. The chipset for the Fossil Gen 5 is the Snapdragon Wear 3100, and this is what makes this watch one of the most viable watches on the Wear OS platform. It has 1 GB of RAM, which allows the watch to run faster and more smoothly than any other watch in the wearer world. While navigating through the apps, you still notice a bit of lag, but not so much that it's frustrating or challenging to work the watch's features. In terms of battery life, Fossil's Gen 5 advertises itself as having 24+ hours with multi-day modes. What this means in practice is that, in terms of settings, there are perhaps too many options. There are the daily and extended options, which most tech users will be familiar with. But then there are also custom and time-only options, which doesn't seem so bad, until you realize that each of these also has 12 different settings that you can choose between. There are certainly tech junkies who will love messing with these settings and maximizing their battery use, but most of us would feel better with fewer options and the trust that the watch is smart enough to give us a functional amount of battery life. The watch comes with features that are pretty standard for this generation: built-in NFC GPS, heart rate monitoring, and speaker. With the Cardiogram app, Fossil claims the ability to detect sleep apnea, diabetes, hypertension, and atrial fibrillation. The watch is water-resistant to 3 atmospheres of pressure, making it more than enough for showering, bathing, or even active swimming. The primary app for fitness tracking is the Google Fit, which works both with an Android phone and an Apple phone. It tracks your performance using heart points and move minutes, which is great for those who don't like to be bombarded with too many technicalities on their smartwatch display. Second number in the list is Samsung Galaxy Watch, best for Samsung users. Samsung's line of Galaxy watches is another entrant on our list with an always-on option. This makes sense, as its direct competitor is the Apple Watch 5. These are both great watches, and if you don't mind spending the money and are looking for a generalist watch with lots of apps, the real decision between the Samsung Galaxy and Apple Watch 5 is which OS you need. Apple 5 is for Apple users, Samsung isn't. Another difference is the style. If you need a watch that will match an upscale wardrobe for boardrooms or fancy dinner parties, then the Samsung Galaxy is probably the best watch on the market. It looks like something a collector might put in a shadow box. Its round stainless steel case gives it a classic look, to which its rotating bezel only adds. Divers, pilots, and other professionals used to use these bezels on ancient analog watches to track time. On the Samsung Galaxy, the bezel is cleverly designed to navigate menus. This feature is more beneficial than it may at first sound. Samsung has repurposed a style from classic watches and delivered a feature that allows users to more easily interact with their watch. Rotate it left to see your notifications. Rotate it right to quickly access widgets. In combination with physical buttons and a touch screen, this is among the most intuitive watches to use. The Samsung Galaxy Watch comes in two different sizes, a 46mm version and a 42mm version. The 46mm version has a silver and black theme, while the 42mm version comes either in rose gold or midnight black. Both are comfortable. The larger version looks best on a big wrist in more formal wear. The smaller version looks more natural on slimmer wrists and more active wear. However, look aside, there is an important technical component to the different sizes. The larger 46mm version has a larger screen and a battery that lasts as much as 24 hours longer. These are both crucial components of any wearable tech, and for that reason we recommend the 46mm version. Samsung watches. The Galaxy included runs on the Tizen OS, which Samsung uses in its TVs and other devices. Tizen's nature as a multi-platform OS is part of what allows the Galaxy's rotating bezel. The Tizen OS is also responsible for the Galaxy's long battery life. The 46mm version will easily last 4 days, the smaller 42mm version lasts 3, which is still good. This is normal use, fetching notifications and messages, tracking workouts, and making honest efforts to communicate with Bixby, Samsung's lackluster AI. Like all best smartwatches, Samsung's Galaxy has fitness tracking capabilities, with a wide array of sensors and the Samsung Health app. These will nudge you along when you get too sedentary and can auto-detect 6 different exercises. You can set it to detect an additional 33 exercises. It also has a sleep tracker and is waterproof for a maximum depth of 50 meters. The problems with this watch are mostly on the software end, rather than the hardware. For starters, some often used, arguably important, third-party apps are missing, including Facebook Messenger, Google Maps, and WhatsApp. Other issues include not having any of the fitness apps that come with Wear OS, such as Google Health and others. The only apps you get are those that exist in the Tizen ecosystem, which is not as diverse as those in Wear OS or even EOS. First number in the list is Apple Watch Series 5 GPS Best Overall, Apple's latest smartwatches, no doubt, the best smartwatch for iPhone users. Because it won't work with an Android phone. The one major upgrade this watch offers over its earlier version is an always-on display. There are of course other upgrades to the software and hardware, but from a user perspective, this is the one you'll notice most. This helps the watch feel more like a real watch and less like a novelty athletic tracker. If you've worn a smartwatch before, then you've probably stopped noticing the time it takes your watch to wake up after you've flicked your wrist. But as soon as you wear a watch with an always-on display, you realize you've been missing something. I appreciated this most at 2 points in my day: when I was doing planks and when I was on my bike trainer. These are both situations in which I sometimes desperately want to see how much longer is on my timer, but can't flick my wrist up to activate a watch. For every app other than workout, the watch will still go into sleep mode. The display won't show the app, but will instead default to a watch face that shows the time and, depending on your choice of watch face, other critical data. For me this was perfect, but if you were hoping to keep another app open without the watch going to sleep, then this may not be the right watch for you. One issue I had with the display was the dimmer, which wasn't dim enough. It's supposed to automatically adjust, but always shined brighter than my future, and my future's bright, I promise. So I ended up having to activate cinema mode at night. I think Apple should have included a low brightness mode like regular wristwatches have with luminous hands. It's easy to see, but doesn't distract you. It might have led to longer battery life, too. There is a lot of hype around the LTPO technology used in the Apple Watch 5. Apple claims it's the reason for the device's longer battery life. However, a little research suggests that it's really only an incremental upgrade from the OLED display in the Apple Watch 4. Of course, the new Watch 5 has a bunch of new display drivers that make things more efficient and a better light sensor than its predecessor, but it's really nothing that couldn't have been done to the Watch 4. The cynic in me wonders whether Apple really needed an extra 12 months to develop this tech, or if it was just holding off for 2019 in order to exploit it for the purposes of marketing a supposed upgrade to the previous version. Between the new LTPO technology and the new drivers and sensors, the watch can go from a refresh rate of 60 Hz to just 1 Hz in 1 second, making for more efficient dimming and a longer battery life. The speed of the whole process is a win for Apple. Other manufacturers have a hard time making displays that can make those switches fast and dynamically. As far as the external design is concerned, you don't get any revolutionary change in the Apple Watch 5. Models in the Apple Watch series are notorious for all looking the same from one generation to the next. The look is part of the brand. The frame is the same curved aluminum. The display is as square as ever, and the digital crown, which you can use to scroll through the menus on the watch, hasn't changed either. You can use a small button next to the digital crown to see the apps you opened recently and activate Apple Pay. Despite the fact that there aren't many new features in the Apple Watch 5, it's still an awesome watch for fitness, with everything working just as well as in the Watch 4. The GPS is super accurate, and so is the heart rate monitor. When you swim, the watch will count lengths and durations accurately, though the watch might have trouble accurately telling you what strokes you are doing. If you liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe the channel. Thanks for watching.